Ever wonder where those grand stories, the ones with heroes, huge battles, gods even, where they actually come from?
It's a great question.
Yeah, and today you brought us something fascinating excerpts right from the beginning of the Mahabharata.
Yeah.
A real cornerstone text of Indian culture.
That's right. The Adi Parva, the very first book.
So we're going to dive into what these opening bits tell us. And when we say epic, I mean, this thing is massive.
Oh, absolutely. It's huge.
It's not just a story, is it? It's described as this treatise on dharma duty, righteousness,
Right. And artha, wealth, power, how things should be run.
and kama desire, pleasure, the sort of human drives.
Exactly. All woven together.
So our goal today, our mission for this deep dive, is to explore the origins, how the epic itself frames its beginning.
And why the setting is so important, right?
Yes, and just to get a feel for the sheer scale it sets up right away.
And the parts you pulled out, section 2 of the Adi Parva with the Samanta-panchaka story and that Akshauhini breakdown. And the Parva-sangraha, which is basically the epic's own, table of contents.
Right.
They're perfect for that. They immediately tell you, okay, this is vast and here's why it matters.
Precisely. You wanted to get a sense of the scale, the purpose, without getting totally lost, and these bits seem key.
They really lay the groundwork.
Okay, let's unpack this place then. Samanta-panchaka. The text says the rishis, these are the wise sages, yeah.
Yes, revered ancient figures.
She specifically asked for details about it, so clearly it's important, not just some random field.
Definitely not random. The text connects its significance way back to a story about Rama, the son of Jamadani.
Okay, Rama.
Now, this is set between the Treta and Dwapara Yugas. Think of these as vast cosmic ages in Hindu thought.
Different eras, right?
Exactly. And during that time, this Rama, apparently filled with, immense anger over wrongs done to his family. He basically went on a campaign and wiped out the Kshatriyas, the warrior class, multiple times.
Wipe them out. That's intense.
It's incredibly dramatic. And this origin story, it's not just, a shocking detail. It seems to hint at a theme.
Like what?
Well, maybe that places gain significance through profound, even violent events. It makes you wonder if the text is saying that conflict shapes not just history, but the actual land itself.
That's interesting. So this all happened at Samanta-panchaka.
According to this account, yes. And there, in his fury, he created 5 lakes, but they were lakes of blood.
Seriously. Lakes of blood.
It's what the text says. And then he stood there among these lakes and made offerings of the blood to his ancestors, the Pitras.
Ancestral spirits, okay. And what did they do?
Well, here's where it gets really fascinating, like you said. They appear, including one named Rishika, and they're not horrified. They seem, pleased.
Pleased with lakes of blood.
They acknowledge his reverence, his power, his valor, as the text puts it, and they offer him a boon, a kind of blessing or wish.
Okay, so what did he ask for?
2 things. First, basically absolution, forgiveness for his actions, for the sin,
Right.
And second, that these very lakes become famous holy shrines. Sacred places.
And they agreed to make blood lakes holy.
They did. They granted his request and also told him, be pacified now, calm down, which he apparently did.
So these lakes of gory water, as the text calls them, they become this revered holy area called Samanta-panchaka.
Exactly. The name itself, the text points out, comes from the significant event. It argues names should reflect something important that happened there.
That makes sense, like a landmark named after a battle.
Precisely. And this whole origin is crucial because it sets the stage for something even bigger, much later, at the very same spot.
The main event, right. The Kurukshetra War.
The Great War itself. Between the Dwapar and Kali Yugas, closer to the main story's time, Samanta-panchaka is where the huge armies, Kauravas and Pandavas, gathered.
How many? Again, it was a staggering number.
18 Akshauhinis, all assembled on this holy region without ruggedness of any kind.
So smooth, open ground, perfect for a massive battle.
Seems like it, and the text is blunt. They were all slain there, annihilated.
So a place made holy by ancient bloodshed becomes the site of even greater, more epic bloodshed later on.
Exactly. The name Samanta-panchaka, rooted in Rama's story, sort of resonates, almost foreshadowing the massive destruction to come. It layers the meaning of the place.
It really connects the past to the present of the epic, doesn't it? Gives the landscape depth. Now, you mentioned Akshauhini, the rishis asked about it. And yeah, we were curious too. It sounds enormous.
It really is. And you can't grasp the scale of the war without understanding this unit. The text, thankfully, breaks it down very clearly, step by step.
Okay, lay it on us. Where does it start?
Start small with a unit called a padi. That's 1 chariot, 1 elephant, 5 foot soldiers, and 3 horses.
Got it. 1 chariot, 1 elephant, 5 infantry, 3 cavalry, basic unit.
Right. Now, you take 3 of those paddies and you get a senamuka.
Okay, 3 paddies is a senamuka.
Then 3 senamukas make a gulma.
3 senamukas, 1 gulma. Following.
3 gulmas then form a gana.
3 gulmas, 1 gana.
Okay, 3 gulnas equal 1 vahini.
3 ganas, 1 vahini. Lots of 3s.
Yes, lots of 3s. Then 3 vahinis make a pratana.
3 vahinis, 1 pratana.
3 pratanas become a chamu.
3 pratanas, 1 shamu. Still with you.
3 chamas then form an anakini.
3 chamas, 1 anakini. Nearly there.
Almost. And finally, 10 anakinis make 1 akshauhini.
Ah, okay, so it's 3s all the way up, then a jump to 10 at the very top. 10 anakinis in an akshauhini.
Exactly, that's the structure.
So let's do the math.
They don't.
Or rather, let's hear the math the text gives. What does 1 akshauhini actually amount to in terms of troops and equipment?
Well, the calculated numbers are pretty staggering. For just 1 akshauhini, you're looking at 21,870 chariots.
21,000 chariots.
Same number of elephants. 21,870.
Okay.
Then 109,350 foot soldiers.
Over 100,000 infantry.
And 65,610 horses or cavalry.
Wow. Okay, those numbers are huge. That's 1 akshauhini.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's basically a massive combined arms army in itself. Maybe don't worry about memorizing padi and gulma.
Right, right.
The key thing is just the sheer organized scale it represents. These weren't small skirmishes.
No kidding. And there were 18 of these. 18 akshauhinis fighting at Samanta-panchaka.
That's what the text states, the combined forces of the Kauravas and Pandavas. It really drives home the magnitude of this war. It really does. And the text even gives a quick rundown of how long some key players fought in that war.
Oh, yeah? Like who?
Like Bhishma, he led for 10 days. Jonah fought for 5 days. Karna, 2 days. Sulya, just half a day.
Okay.
Then there was that famous mace duel between Duryodhana and Bhima, also half a day. And finally, that night attack by Aswathaman and Kripa.
So it gives these little timestamps within the larger 18-day conflict. Highlights the key moments, maybe.
Exactly. Kind of a compressed view of the major phases or command changes within the battle.
Okay. So we've got the place, Samanta-panchaka, loaded with meaning. We've got the scale, these mind-boggling akshauhinis. What about the epic itself, the Mahabharata, or the Bharata as it's called here? These early sections talk about its importance too, right?
Oh, definitely. They spend quite a bit of time setting up the significance of the work itself.
How is it presented?
Well, the framing is that Saudi, the narrator figure here, is telling the story to the rishis during a sacrifice. And he mentions that this is just like how an intelligent disciple of Vyasa, the traditional composer, recited it before at King Janamajaya's great sacrifice.
So there's a lineage. It's being passed down formally.
Exactly. It emphasizes tradition, preservation, the value of this specific narrative.
And it's clearly not presented as just any story. The descriptions are pretty lofty.
Extremely lofty. It's called the best of narrations, full of varied and wonderful description, language, meaning. It talks about detailing different customs and rites. And crucially, it's accepted by the wise.
Accepted by the wise. That's a strong endorsement.
Very strong. And then come these really powerful analogies to explain its importance.
Like what?
It's compared to the ultimate reality or soul among things you need to know. It's like life itself among things that are dear. It's ranked first among all the Shastras, the sacred teachings.
Okay, these are huge claims. The self, life, the top scripture.
Absolutely. And then there's that one you mentioned. Every story depends upon it as the body upon the foot.
Yeah, that one really stuck out. It makes it sound foundational to everything else.
That's precisely the sense it gives. That it's the base, the support for all other narratives and wisdom traditions.
Any other comparisons?
Oh, yes. It says poets cherish it like loyal servants cherish noble masters.
Yeah.
And that it displays the highest wisdom, just like vowels and consonants are the basis for all knowledge and language.
So it's comparing itself to the very building blocks of understanding.
Pretty much. These aren't subtle claims. It's being positioned as absolutely central and essential right from the start.
And then it mentions the structure, these parvas, the books or sections.
Right. It praises the Parvas for their wonderful and various nature, their subtle meanings, their logical connections, and even their Vedic substance.
Vedic substance. So linking it directly to the authority of the Vedas.
Exactly. It's claiming that same level of depth and significance. It sounds incredibly complex and layered.
It really does. And then we get that list, the Enumerates, which outlines all the Parvas, like a rapid-fire tour of the whole epic.
It is a bit of a whirlwind, but you can see themes emerge, can't you? You've got the early stuff, origins, births, like the Pausha, Paloma, Astika, Sambhava, Parvas, setting the scene.
Yeah, the setup.
Then key events leading to the conflict, the House of Lac, killing demons, Draupadi's selection, the marriage, the gambling.
The dice game, right. That's huge.
Absolutely. Then the whole forced exile section, Aranyaka Parva, with countless episodes like Nala's story, pilgrimages, battles with supernatural beings.
That seems like a big chunk.
It is. Lots of adventures and trials in the forest. Then the build-up to war, the time in Virata's court, the preparations, the embassies, like Sanjaya's mission, Krishna's involvement.
The Udyoga Parva, preparations.
Exactly. Leading right into the war, Parvas themselves. Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Salya, each named after a major commander.
Centered on the fighting.
Right. Detailed accounts of battles, deaths, strategies, and of course the Bhagavad Gita within the Bhishma Parva.
Can't forget that.
Definitely not. Then the aftermath, the shocking night attack in the Saptika Parva, the mourning, the funerals.
The consequences.
Yes, and then the sections on peace and ruling Santi Parva, Anusasana Parva with Bhishma giving long discourses from his deathbed.
Lots of philosophy and guidance there.
A huge amount. Followed by later events like the horse sacrifice and eventually the Pandavas' final journey and ascent to heaven.
Mahabharata and Svarga Parvas.
And it even mentions appendices like the Harivamsa detailing Krishna's lineage. It just goes on and on and on.
A lot. Seeing it laid out like that really underscores the scope.
It does. And the text even mentions, interestingly, that Vyasa first composed 100 Parvas.
100?
Yeah, which his son or disciple, Sutta, then abridged into the 18 we generally know today.
Wow. So the version we have is condensed.
Apparently so. It just adds to the sense of its original immensity. And the Adi Parva, the one we're focused on, is just the beginning, setting all of this in motion.
So bringing you back to the significance of the Farada itself, they keep hammering home the scale, don't they?
They do. Those 18 Akshauhinis, the 18-day war, these numbers are repeated, grounding the epic scale.
And then that statement about wisdom.
Yes, that's a powerful one. It basically says that even if you know the 4 Vedas and all their auxiliary texts, if you don't know this history, this Bharata, you can't really be considered wise.
That puts narrative history on an incredibly high pedestal, doesn't it? Equal to, or maybe even essential alongside, scripture?
It seems to. It reinforces Vyasa's own description of the Mahabharata as this complete guide to artha, dharma, and kama. Everything you need to know about life, duty, success, desire. It's supposedly in there.
Covering all the bases of human existence.
That's the claim. And there's that lovely analogy about the kukila bird. Yeah, its song is so sweet, it makes other birds' calls sound harsh or undesirable. The text compares listening to the Hartha to that it's so captivating, other stories just won't satisfy you afterwards.
Huh. That's quite a boast about its literary or narrative power.
It is, and it compares the creation of the 3 worlds from the 5 elements to how all poets draw inspiration from this single work.
So it's positioned as the ultimate source code for stories and wisdom.
That's exactly the feeling. It explicitly states that all Puranas, these other important ancient texts, depend on this history.
Wow.
And that all actions, all morality depend on this treatise. It repeats that analogy about stories depending on it, like the body depends on food. Really driving it home.
It's hard to overstate the importance they're assigning to it.
Impossible. And the concluding praise is just immense. It's called unparalleled, virtue itself, sacred, something that destroys sin and produces good.
Strong words.
And then the kicker listening to it is equated to the religious merit you'd get from donating 100 cows with gold-plated horns.
Okay, that's a very specific, very high measure of value in that context.
It certainly is. And finally, it circles back to that list of Parvas, the Parva-sangraha, calling it a ship.
A ship.
Yeah, a ship to help you navigate the vast, seemingly endless ocean that is the Mahabharata, a guide through the immensity.
That's a great metaphor, a map and a ship for this huge textual journey.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's try and sum up this deep dive into just these opening sections. We've really seen how the origin story of Samanta-panchaka isn't just background, it's layered with meaning, connecting past violence to future conflict on holy ground.
Right. That duality is key.
We've grappled with the Akshauhini, those staggering numbers giving a concrete sense of the war's immense scale.
A scale that's hard to picture otherwise.
And we've explored how the epic introduces itself claiming profound foundational importance, covering all aspects of life, and presenting itself as this vast, complex, but ultimately navigable ocean of story and wisdom through its Parva structure.
You really get a strong sense right from page 1 of what this text aims to be and the journey it entails. Hopefully, this look at the beginning has given those aha moments, clarifying these initial foundational layers.
Absolutely. It sets the stage incredibly effectively. So here's a final thought to mull over. Given the epic's huge claim that it contains all stories, all wisdom,
Yeah.
what aspect of ancient Indian society, or maybe philosophy, or even just storytelling, are you now most curious to see explored within the rest of this vast Mahabharata?
That's a good question to leave things on.
Thanks for sharing the sources, and thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure. Looking forward to the next one.